सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज.
The miseries of material existence and the most hopeless conditions of life is the best possible opportunity to turn to God.
Barerupa Bhakti presents The Gift of Desperation, a Bhakti recovery podcast. This is a 12-step based Bhakti-oriented space. Here we share our experience, strength, and hope in the spirit of recovery from addictions and associated behaviors. Welcome. Woohoo! Hello, Kennedy.
Good morning from California. How are you?
Yes, I'm good, and good evening from Germany.
Oh my goodness.
It's so great. I mean, you know what? It's really funny. I have if you really want to make it work in these time zones, it works. If two people are willing to make it work, it works.
It really does.
That's something that I've found difficult in past relationships, friendships, that it's been, the time zone has made it challenging, but actually for some reason for us, it's been pretty kind, hasn't it?
It's actually been easier for me to meet with you than it has to meet with the friends I have on the East Coast.
Wow. That's saying something, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's just kind of God's arrangement at the moment, probably.
Oh, absolutely.
So, let me introduce you. This is Kennedy. Kennedy is an amazing Californian. She is working an ACA program, that's adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families. She is a member of the BRG. Wait a second, I didn't ask for your permission. Am I allowed to break your anonymity?
Yes.
Well, you're on the Bhakti Recovery podcast. Duh.
Yeah. I mean, don't tell people my address, social security number, and all that stuff. But yeah.
Oh, okay. I won't. I'll just crumple that piece of paper I had here saying that I was going to, tell everyone to send their checks to your house.
Okay, well, if you're going to do it that way, I welcome that.
Oh, okay. So Kennedy and I have become partners in ACA. And at the moment, Kennedy and I are working the steps together. And I think she just completed step 2, and we wanted to kind of talk about that because I think it could be very empowering. And I think, being in the program for so long and then working with Kennedy, I just have to say that Kennedy she got the notice. She gets it. She's gotten the memo. And it's like, I don't need to explain too much to her. I think has a deep understanding of what these steps mean, how to work them, and how valuable they are. So I wanted to get her on to talk about her experience till now. So, Kennedy, I'm going to give it over to you. Like, if you want to just say a little bit about yourself, and what your experience has been now, exploring ACA, getting into it, and now working the first and second step.
Yeah. I mean, well, a little bit about me. I've been in Krishna Consciousness for about 1.5 years, and it's actually been an amazing experience as far as finding a foundation of ethics and morals, and it led me directly into finding a 12-step program to help with, rectifying how I've treated myself, not just due to my upbringing, but also simply just even being adjacent to it would have had effects. This is Kali Yuga, for those of you who aren't aware of what that is. It's like a season of time, and this just happens to be a pretty harsh winter. We are in the age of coral and hypocrisy. We're in the age of coral and hypocrisy. And if you haven't, looked outside, you'd probably realize that. You might have missed it, but, that also affects our family dynamics, our friendships, how we handle things. If you're raised by adult children, you are an adult child. And trauma hits you at the age that it happens.
Right.
Yeah. And so, getting to find this program, it's really feels like I've been set up for success in it just because my higher power, who I call Krishna, has led me to find this program after years of trying to work through it mentally through therapy, trying to work through it alone,
Mm.
trying to work through finding and rectifying my relationship with a higher power. Um, and so it kind of all led me here to something that is saying, okay, you've done a lot of the footwork. Let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's really make you face yourself. But since I'm doing
Mm.
it through Krishna consciousness, it's actually just been such a loving program.
Wow. I want to ask you a couple of questions about that, in your experience. So you had said, you going through therapy and working through it intellectually, emotionally, just those things. How is it different when you have a higher power of your understanding? How does that play a role now into your emotional work? What does that do? How does that help?
Well, I just finished the second step last night, and it had said in there that you can't intellectualize like this process. Like there's a level to which you do have to. Like everything involves
Sure.
the mind, but it can't be the battlefield. Like there needs to be this physical level at which you do stuff. And when growing up, I didn't have a higher power in the house, and that I think was to my benefit because my parents weren't atheist, agnostic. They just didn't talk about it, and they said, "Find whatever you find."
Hmm.
And because it was safer, the summer camps I was put into were actually Bible camps. Um, and they were just
Yeah.
full of lovely people until you got to the teenage years, and then it doesn't matter what religion you're in. Sometimes kids are just nasty. Um,
Yeah.
so that kind of took me out of it. But then, as soon as I turned, I think it was like 15, as soon as I was able to drive, I started taking myself to church, and I was just always God hungry. Um,
Yeah.
I
I
knew
could
that.
so relate to that.
Yeah, like we all have that hole. We all have that hole that we're trying to fill. It's a God-sized hole. And I kind of always knew that I would find something in a church or, I really wanted to, as a kid, go to like Jewish temple. My aunt
Mhm.
is Jewish. I adore her. We got to celebrate Hanukkah a lot growing up, Passover, things like that. I was more in it for the food, but I also really loved that you could tell it was a spiritual activity. And
It's still, yeah. Just for a second,
yeah.
your aunt looks so Jewish, New York. It's unbelievable. When
Oh, 'cause
I,
she's
I,
gorgeous though.
oh,
Like,
totally.
like not to say
She's.
that
Go
she's
ahead.
like
What?
other like her style, her confidence. Oh my gosh, I love her.
Yeah. Sorry, I just had to say that I have her in my head. I see her in my head. I know what she. I mean, I've seen a picture. I know who she is. But yeah. Anyway, go ahead. So go ahead.
Oh no, totally.
Loved it.
But yeah, coming to the second step, um, even though the one of the two exercises in it was ask your inner child to draw a picture of your higher power. And I just sat there and doodled out like this ridiculous, totally non-proportioned Krishna. Like,
In which form? In which form? Little blue boy form?
yeah, little blue boy. And it's not a good drawing, but he looks happy, and
Oh.
I just kind of want to hang out with him. This little pen sketch of a cartoon Krishna, and um, going through these questions, and I felt like I could breeze through them because a lot of them are about doubt. A lot of them are about, how do I reason with a higher power that I've spent so much time thinking was against me, was here to punish me.
Hmm. Oh, let me read the second step quick so that people
Yeah, go for
know,
it.
because there are some who don't. So the second step is to come to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. So yeah. And also for the first step, just so that people are on the same page, because we'll be skipping from step one and step two. The first step is one, we admitted we were powerless over the effects of alcoholism or other family dysfunction, and that our lives had become unmanageable. So everybody knows when we're talking about step one and step two, that's what we're talking about. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, thank you. Um, so coming into like step two, and I hope nobody minds, we're working backwards here, but it's just so funny. to me.
Well,
Like,
we're working not backwards, we're working from what's fresh in your mind. You know, that's the freshness in your mind. You just finished it last night. So it makes
well, there
sense.
we go.
Yeah.
So, going through this and looking at the things, like one of the big things is, what did your parents say to you? What, from the first step moving into now, how did you kind of internalize it? And what did that do with your relationship with the higher power?
Hmm.
Um, because a lot of this I'm realizing is about, how did you convince yourself you were God?
Right. That
And
makes sense.
and you sent me this amazing recording of an AA speaker.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you want to
Oh,
put that in
yeah.
the show
That's,
notes, I think people would benefit.
oh my God. Yeah, that's so amazing. I think it's Bob D.
Yeah,
Isn't it Bob D? Yeah, it's
Bob
Bob
something.
D.
Go, Bob.
Yeah,
Um,
Bob D. Oh my gosh. Actually, I've listened to some more of his speaker tapes, and he was like a bum, man. He was like homeless. He was like low bottom. Anyway, go ahead. So,
well, he had said something about how we are all actors trying to play director and producer and play every role, and then also exert like our authority over what the set designers do.
yeah, which is an AA. It's between page 60 and 63. It's an AA quote from the Big Book, but
It's amazing.
it's yeah, it's insane, insanely true.
And
So,
I've actually been
so
that actor.
yeah, unbelievable.
Genuinely been that actor. I did
Absolutely.
theaters for so long. And I think that there's a good chunk of people who do art and creative business because they can express their creativity, inner child, because they genuinely love the craft and they're good at it. And then everybody else is struggling with control in their life.
Mm.
And I think that we live in a society that's really pushed us to kind of find how we can be in control.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
healthy. It's just, and I think a lot of it comes from the fact, like, I don't think there's a single person on this planet who wouldn't benefit from an ACA program,
Hmm.
because we
You
get,
know what? Actually, read the laundry list
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
I think if you read the laundry list, people also understand, like, maybe to identify with what that is, and then and then I can read the promises after that, the ACA promises. But go
Absolutely.
ahead.
Now,
Right. Read
anybody
the,
listening to this, get ready to feel slapped in the face.
that's what you told me. What did you tell me? I laughed so hard. What was it that you said? It wasn't just like, you were just like, I don't know what you said, but it was hysterical. You were like, when I read it, it was like, I can't remember what you said, but I laughed for like
I was
5
saying, like,
minutes.
it felt like a hug and a slap to the face.
That's what you said, like a hug and a punch. That's what you said. It was like a hug and a punch in the face. That's what it
Yeah.
was. I laughed so hard at that. Ugh.
Oh my gosh. But sometimes that's like so important to experience that. But here, let me read them. Um, it says the laundry list, 14 characteristics of an adult child. These are the characteristics we seem to have in common due to being brought up in an alcoholic household. 1, we became isolated and afraid of people and authority figures. 2, we became approval seekers and lost our identity in the process. 3, we are frightened by angry people and any personal criticism. 4, we either become alcoholics, marry them, or both, or find another compulsive personality, such as a workaholic, to fulfill our sick abandonment needs. 5, we live life from the viewpoint of victims and are attracted by that weakness in our love and friendship relationships. 6, we have an overdeveloped sense of responsibility, and it is easier for us to be concerned with others rather than ourselves. This enables us not to look too closely at our own faults, etc. 7, we get guilt feelings and we stand up for ourselves instead of giving in to others. 8, we become addicted to excitement.
Okay, stop right there.
I
Jerry,
actually kind of wanted to. Thank you.
stop right there. I think every single person on this earth becomes addicted to excitement. What do you think?
I think you're so right. And I hadn't put it in those terms, but yeah, it's so
You don't
subtle.
have to, yeah, you don't have to be like from a dysfunctional family. I mean, this world is a dysfunctional place. It's like we're all in dysfunction. This world is not normal. This place
No.
is, this place is, like you said, it's Kali Yuga. It is the age of quarrel. It is the age of destruction.
Yeah.
It's, it is, it's powerful, man. It's powerful. And it is, and we're all looking for some sort of, even myself, I don't know about you, but even myself, like I went to therapy today. Actually, I go to therapy once a week, and I grapple with therapy. I grapple with therapy for one reason, because it's very much in the head, and not very much spiritual. You know, if you don't have a God loving therapist, it can be challenging at times. But anyway, now I just lost my thread. Dang it! What was I saying?
You were saying that like everybody on this planet is addicted to excitement, regardless
Oh,
of
right.
the connection to the 12 steps or the laundry list.
Absolutely. And I think I don't know where I was going with that, so I'll just stop it. But I think that if you really think about life on this planet, in this world, everything is geared towards more, 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 more,
Yeah.
more, more, more TV, more this, and easier. We're getting lazy, and we want more, and we want excitement, but we want it from our couch.
Yes. We want to be convenienced.
Yes.
There
Ugh.
was a wonderful lecture this weekend by His Grace Srivas Pandit Prabhu, and he talked about the hedonic treadmill. And one of the things he mentioned, which the hedonic treadmill is the fact that we seek pleasure, and then say we get a raise at work. Well, now our expectations of what our pleasure looks like have raised. So we're still getting the same level of happiness, but we have higher expectations about it.
Hmm.
And what I realized from what he had said, and it blew my mind, was that in an overconsumption society, in a society addicted to excitement, and a society addicted to convenience, nothing is sacred.
No.
And you
Hmm.
can't recognize a higher power. And it's really difficult to recognize a higher power in that situation where you're raised on nothing being sacred.
That's what I was getting at. Thank you for saying that. That's what I was getting at with the going to the shrink, to the that it's all in the head. It's all psychological, and that it just it sort of could even feed that, like, more and more and more. I want to fix myself. I can't fix myself. That's step 6 and 7, but we're not there yet.
That's going
Okay,
to be
let's leave the
when we get
yeah. Okay, let's continue. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but that was just, I couldn't help that one.
No, I'm so glad you went on that one because I really wanted to.
You can
But
stop at any one of the promises of the laundry list and say something if you're inspired to do so.
well, just one other thing on 8, which is for those of you who forget which one we're on at this point, it's we became addicted to excitement. It's this mind-blowing moment of we've normalized it so much that I would never, unless it was pointed out here, have realized that that was a characteristic of an adult child. We are
Hmm.
not meant to be constantly stimulated, but seeking constant stimulation, either through symptoms of ADHD or simply just an addiction to binging shows. Like, it blows my mind how subtle that one is, and it is absolutely malicious.
Oh my God, totally. And insidious.
Yes, that's the better
It's
word. Yeah.
so cunning, baffling, and powerful.
And yeah, and I think it's because there's a level to it which is at like it's at the level of ego. And
Mm.
I struggle so much with what is me and what is my ego. But then I have
Ugh.
to remember, because I'm an adult child, that it's not that I'm supposed to go into this and have it figured out. It's that will be revealed to me as I work.
That's interesting. That's also very, very, that's not just an opinion, that's fact. I've
Yeah.
seen that through the years of recovery. You know, I would just love to take this moment to say to any single person who's in an AA or an NA program, anyone who has struggled with alcohol, anyone who's struggled with drug abuse, anyone who's a recovering addict, and I would say with some time under their belt, to eventually really go to the ACA program. That is where it's like, for me, it was, AA and NA saved my life. It was my lifeline. It was my parent. It was my higher power. It was everything to me. When I started to evolve and there were other things that just weren't going away, character defects I couldn't pray away, things that I couldn't, that weren't going away, no matter how hard I was trying to let go of them or how hard I was working on them or how hard I would give them up or how hard I wouldn't give them up, they weren't going away. And I realized that there was a lot of stuff in my childhood which I did not want to deal with. I did not want to deal with it. That I needed to look at. So I recommend it. And it has really taken me to another level in my understanding of a 12-step program, my understanding of why I'm here. Also Krishna Consciousness has given me that reason. Why am I here on this earth? And it just takes it up to another level. So I personally would recommend to anyone who has some time under the belt or feels ready, it's not just about the time because it took me a long time. You feel ready to look at those issues, I recommend it. I so recommend it. Anyway, okay.
I'm putting
Sorry about that.
Oh, no. You never have to apologize to me for anything, and you certainly don't need to apologize for giving people good information.
Yeah, that's true. I just don't feel like I don't want to like interrupt anyone's, but sometimes I'm like that too. I'm like, oh, I got to talk about it. Like if I don't say it now, I'm going to forget, and I'll just be like, jump right in. And
I'm an ADHD girly. Like, let's
me
go
too.
off on several tangents and then come back to what we were talking about in the beginning.
Yeah. Okay, good.
So we were on number 9.
Yes.
This one's huge. This one was actually one of the first symptoms that I recognized in myself way back when. But it's, we confuse love and pity and tend to love the people we can pity and rescue.
Ooh, that's a big one.
And there's quotes around love in that one. Like it's not real love.
Right.
No,
it isn't.
No.
It's finding a puppy.
Oh my gosh. One time I fully believe that your external environment reflects your internal environment and vice versa. So if you want to change one, you can change from either direction as long as you commit to changing both.
Yeah.
And one thing was I had this, I'm going to put quotes around this word, but I had this friend back in college who really didn't like that I was celebrating my 19th birthday by playing, I think it was a game called Quiplash, but everybody was down in the dorm common area. We were having a great time. We were laughing, but she just wasn't about it. She wanted something else. So I end up telling her, like, listen, we're all having a great time. If you want to, like, you can join us. Otherwise, I'll see you later. But this is what I'm doing right now. And
it's your birthday.
It was my birthday.
And it's your birthday. I mean, of course you're going to decide what you want to do on your birthday. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
So this person, like, later that evening, I get a call. And they had checked themselves into a mental hospital in the city about 30 minutes away and was demanding I come see them.
On your birthday?
On my birthday. On my birthday. Like, there was no way it wasn't calculated. Because they checked themselves in and they said, like, I'm going to kill myself and you have to come see me. And I went. Like, I let this person control me. And the thing was, is they were already in this ward. Like, there was no way they could hurt themselves. Like, it's specifically for people who are
suicidal.
Yeah. Who are in the mood of self-harm. And so it was specifically set up. So like they couldn't do anything, but I still went. Because to me, like that relationship was built off of this number 9 on the laundry list of like, this person knew I would rescue them. This person knew that Like that was our definition of love.
Wow.
And like after that, I cut off contact with them. I was like, I will go and I will do this like last thing and then I'm done. But like it didn't change the fact that that controlled my behavior, that literally had me driving 30 minutes on my birthday in the like late evening when I had class the next day, like to go take care of this human being. And like it comes from, at least for me, this wanting to have been rescued.
Mm.
And so it's, at the end of the day, there's only two people who can save me, and it's God and myself in that order.
Agreed. That's the highest form of manipulation as well. This kind of like, I'm going to kill myself. You have to come. That's like desperation at its highest. And it's not like a malicious, I'm going to control this person by doing that. It's not often like that. It is sometimes, but often it's not. Often it's just a desperate cry for, rescue me, rescue me. You're my savior. And that's not really up to that. That's not fair to the next, to the other person. But yeah.
It comes to a point, I think, or we often get so overwhelmed by how we view our own position in this life and what we've been through. And there's a little, I think, level of entitlement that happens because when we're children, we are entitled to be being cared for. Like that's part of the parent relationship, is you're supposed to be taken care of and nurtured. It does not always happen. It does not always happen the way we want it to happen or the way we think it should happen. But then as an adult, I think a lot of people, myself included, have fallen into this pitfall of, okay, well, if you're supposed to be doing this, then you need to give it to me and I'm going to come and take it. But there's an age limit. Once I'm 18, my parents don't owe me anything in this life. If you're lucky, your parents pay for your therapy.
Yeah, mine doesn't. Mine don't.
Well, mine did for a couple of years.
Actually, that's not true. My dad did when he was alive. He would have paid for anything.
Oh.
Yeah. My dad was a great guy. A bit inappropriate, but a great guy. I told you a couple of things,
Yeah. But, that's the thing is like, when we're also in that mindset of the victim or just in that mindset of hurt, it's really easy to just start blaming everything on that person. In my experience, it's really easy to forget that there is a good side to that person.
Right.
That they are loved by other people and that they are deserving of love because God loves them just as much as he loves you.
Absolutely.
And so it's just, it's this wild moment of learning the nuances beyond just even this life. But I'll finish the list before I dive into that subject. So on number 10, we have stuffed our feelings from our traumatic childhoods and lost the ability to feel or express our feelings because it hurts so much. Denial.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. That's a real big one.
Yeah. And then 11, we judge ourselves harshly and have very low sense of self-esteem. I saw 11 and realized I had pitched a tent on it.
Oh my God. Yeah, me too. Me too. It gets better though. It really does. It gets better. And sometimes it gets worse again. That's the thing. Yeah. This is the big illusion of what I think. I mean, I can only speak from my experience. My experience has been this. The big illusion is I'm going to do this. I'm going to work my steps. I'm going to work the program and everything's going to be fine. Nope. It's not like that. My perception gets better. Life still keeps coming at me. There will be tidal waves. There will be earthquakes. There will be volcanoes. There will be mean people. There will be nasty people. There will be people doing not what I want them to do. There will be people driving in front of me at freaking 5 miles an hour. There will be all kinds of things every single day. The only chance I have is to freaking humble myself through this program. And that is the biggest challenge. That is the biggest challenge. It's my perception. It's easier to put on shoes than it is to carpet the whole goddamn world the way I want it, the way I want to have it.
You know, it reminds me that when I was working through therapy, and I've done all kinds of therapy. I did dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT. I did
Mm.
talk therapy. I've done group therapy. Like, I've done a lot of different programs in that. For me, therapy was about the mind. Therapy was about, taming the mind, which is important. Even the Gita says, like, that is the clearinghouse of the senses. So all those gross things you want, all those lovely things you want, they all funnel into there, and you got to clean
Mm.
it up every once in a while. And that was what therapy helped me with. The 12 steps are the clearinghouse of the ego. The
Ooh, I
12
like that.
steps, the 12 steps directly attack the parts of the ego that no longer serve us. And, one of the hardest things about this program so far has been recognizing that my parents and my sister and the other people in my life, I'm going to change. I can expect nothing from them in that regard.
Mm.
They're going to be exactly who they want to be at this given time. And maybe they see the light and change in one way, or maybe they revert and go a different direction, or maybe they stay exactly the same. But it's the only person that I can change is myself. And I have
Yeah,
to accept that, even if someone has troubled me in the past, I can't request them to change. I can only become more tolerant and more humble.
makes sense. And it's what I've lived, and I think that's what life is all about, actually. It's about our perception. Exactly the same thing. It's tiring carpeting the whole world.
Yeah.
It's
And I realize I'm
tiring.
not good at it. I'm not,
No.
I'm not a carpenter. Yeah, you need a license for that. I don't have it.
Yeah, you need a license for that. You need to study, you need your PhD in in control. And yeah.
Not to make a really literal metaphor about this. But
But
we're building a center. We're building a center, and there's one room in the center that's carpeted. And they told us, the guy who sold us the piece of carpet said, you should get it installed professionally because, it'll start coming up. There'll be bumps in the carpet and people can trip on them. If you
Mhm.
are trying to carpet the whole world and you are not a licensed professional to carpet the whole world, you will create a tripping hazard.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, not only for myself, but for everyone else.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
You will make a
oh
bigger
my
mess.
God.
You will have to
That
pay
is
more
so
money.
funny. That is so funny. That is really funny.
But then,
Oh
okay.
man. Okay, so what's 11 and 12?
So 11 we did was we judge ourselves harshly and have
Oh,
a
right.
very low sense of self-esteem. And then 12 is we are dependent on personalities who are terrified of abandonment and will do anything to hold on to a relationship in order to not experience painful abandonment feelings, which we receive from living with sick people who were never there emotionally for us.
Ugh, yuck.
It's so
Oh, that's the
specific,
yucky one.
but
That's
it's
the one where
so
you're
on
like,
point.
"Bleh."
Yeah. But 13 is a great piggyback off of that one because alcoholism or dysfunction in general is a family disease, and we become para alcoholics and took on the characteristics of that disease, even though we did not pick up the drink.
There you go. That is such valuable information for anyone working any 12-step program. Whether we picked up a drink or not, we still have the characteristics of alcoholics.
Yeah, and there are studies that talk about how alcoholism and some of these other family, like quote unquote family traits, are genetic. But what are you supposed to do if the psychology of the people you're around is something that is like your only frame of reference for how to be as an adult, you know?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
if there is a genetic factor, good Lord, pray, because that is, what can you do about the body you're born into? And then if there's also the nurturing factor, pray, because that's a lot to take on and a lot to shed.
That's really great that you mentioned this now. And when you're bringing that up, that's such an important prerequisite
Mm.
and understanding of what Krishna consciousness means.
Mm.
It's the absolute, it's where when you understand that, what you're saying, when you fully understand the validity of what you're saying now, it is sort of, in some way, it's a description of we're not the body, right? So it's a description of all of the pains that we have by identifying ourselves with the body, by identifying ourselves as, yes, okay, so we say we're alcoholic, we say we're addict, we say we're adult child, but we also say we're spirit soul and we don't identify with the body, right? That's like, those are the two things. However, we are here, and, in BRG, we say we're spirit soul in the body of an addict or in the body of a, and we don't want to identify with it. However, when we know that, and that's why Krishna consciousness for me came in so amazingly harmonious with the 12-step program, because all of these things I was just saying now about in the traits in the 13th one. Read that again, that I can say something on that.
Alcoholism is a family disease, and we became para-alcoholics and took on the characteristics of that disease, even though we did not pick up the drink.
Right. And having that desperation feeling that we can never get out of that, that's, and you were just saying before, like, yeah, oh God, pray, right? It really is divine intervention that we know that isn't us. Okay, yes, maybe it's genetic, and yes, we're conditioned. We use the word conditioning in Krishna consciousness. We're conditioned. We're conditioned by our family. We're conditioned by our DNA. We're conditioned by all of these things. But underneath that, we're not the body. We're spirit, pure spirit souls. And these conditions are partly our karma, mostly our karma. And what we can do with that is do better. When you say, like, oh, okay, it's almost like a death sentence. Yes, everyone who's living here has a death sentence because we're all going to die, but our spirits don't die. And the point is, if we have a program, and if we keep practicing Krishna consciousness and keep understanding deeply what that means, we have a chance to peel that off. We have a chance to just make a little advancement, just a little advancement.
What you just said, I've actually heard recently in a small Instagram reel, Keshava Swami.
Mm-hmm.
He had mentioned, he goes, if you're using someone's karma to judge them, then you're in the wrong. But what's much more helpful is to take a look at your own karma, not judge yourself for where you are, and realize that if where you are is a result of a series of actions, then what you choose to do today can put you in a much better place tomorrow.
Wow. That's deep.
And I mean, it's interesting in the sense that, like, it's so easy, especially going back to my favorite one, number 11, which is judging ourselves harshly.
That's my favorite one too.
It's so easy to sit here and have things happen and be like, oh, well, you must have been a terrible person in your last life. Like, you must, like, and it's just so easy to put the blame on there. But there's a reason that we don't remember our past lives for the most part. If I was meant to know how I got into this situation, I would know, but it would be really confusing and often traumatizing, probably.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, we also actually see those kids who remember, I don't know if you watch stuff like that, but I've seen things like when kids remember that and it's difficult for them, especially for the kids,
yeah, and it's difficult for the parents, and it's an interesting toss into the family dynamic, and I wonder how that would affect their ACA program. But
I wonder how that would affect my ACA program. Oh my God. Let's bring a more complicated twist into it.
But I mean, we all come into this world with exactly what we need. And so if this karma is what I need, I am a firm believer that if you can overcome the obstacles in your life, then you get a superpower. I am a fairly articulate human being. I trip up every once in a while. I've already done it multiple times, which I'm sure people have heard. But what it comes
It's
down
the waves in the carpet that you left. Sorry.
Yes. Because the thing is I am hyper independent. Even in this journey with Krishna, I rely on myself more than I rely on him, and I need to switch that. I still am trying to play God even though I'm walking with him. And, I come from a background of being misunderstood. And there's a couple things that have been amazing. Like, it's the gift that keeps on giving in this case, this particular obstacle for me. Because, and I think everybody's experienced being misunderstood, especially to frustrating degrees, but it made me really articulate. And then becoming really articulate and being able to express exactly what I'm trying to express was still unhelpful because people will still misunderstand you. But what it gave me was this amazing skill to be articulate, and then the realization that being understood is an act of intimacy, and I don't need to be intimate with everyone.
That's interesting.
It freed me. It just like, cool, you get me or you don't. Like the other day, I'm reading this book because I'm trying to figure out how finances work. That does not compute with me, especially when one of my symptoms is spending to fill that hole. Definitely love shopping and definitely know how to find a deal.
Yeah. The shopping, that's terrible, especially with since Amazon, it's even worse.
I had to cancel my Amazon Prime a couple years back. I was like, I'm not doing this to myself anymore. I can't, no. Just no. But it's wild to see how these coping mechanisms show up in this book. And then when you overcome one of them, then you end up having this amazing superpower. But I was reading this one book and it was a little tiny book, total starter finance through allegory. And the person I'm sitting next to, who I literally just met, starts full on judging me for it. And I'm just sitting there going, you have known me for maybe an hour. Why would I want to be understood by you? Why are you making value judgments on who I am as a person when you have no basis of understanding?
Yeah,
I realize I do that. That's me.
Yeah, it's that's me.
And so I'm sitting here going thank you so much for your time and for the lesson that's been imparted through you. You can go now.
You're excused.
Oh, this has been lovely. Maybe I'll never see you again. Who knows?
This has been very interesting.
Oh, how informative. Thank you. Good day.
Thank you, sir. Good day. That was truly that was magical. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Just let me tip my hat.
Oh, gosh.
But
all right,
we're at the last one.
We're at 14. That's it. The last one.
We're sharing a brain cell right now. We both decided to go back to 14 at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think it kind of, honestly, this was the one that at the very end just kind of hit me in the face and said all right, and take it and run. 14. Para-alcoholics are reactors rather than actors.
Oh, God. That's another one that makes me gag.
I kind of rejoice with it, though. I kind of rejoice being called out on this one.
And
I want to throw out there that they use para-alcoholics in this workbook interchangeably with codependents.
Yes. Isn't that good? Isn't that really good?
Well, it logics. It adds up. Because if you are a para-alcoholic, if you've been subjected to the behaviors of people who are addicts, addicted to something, then you are dependent on these people who are unreliable as caretakers to care for you.
Yes.
And then suddenly you're codependent with someone who might yell at you. There's no consistency. They might punish you for something they asked you to do, which it just adds up so well that all these behaviors can lead to this codependency. And we also live in a society that rewards codependency. So where does that put us? We're in insanity constantly.
Oh yeah, totally. Totally. And that's why I'm okay, so in insanity, let's talk about step 2.
Yeah.
A
And
power greater
want to
than
point,
ourselves.
I want to take a moment too, if you want to read the solution.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, don't you read the solution. I was going to read the promises, but you read the solution.
Oh, well, let's do the promises because I love the flip side. I think that makes more sense.
Okay, great. You read them. You're so eloquent. I love how you read and I love your voice. So please read them.
Thank you. To anyone who makes audiobooks, you can hire me. I've never done it before, but you can hire me. Consider
Well,
this my demo.
you actually might like I'm like if I ever write the Bhakti Recovery book, step work book, I will have you do the audiobook. You're hired.
Thank you. For you, anything. So the ACA promises, which to my understanding are the flip side of the laundry list. So if you don't go ahead.
Yeah.
You know
there
better.
is the flip side of the laundry list. There's a separate one.
That's what
There's a separate one that is the flip side of the laundry list, but that's okay. The promises are good. Go ahead.
So number 1, we will discover our real identities by loving and accepting ourselves, which is a huge promise. That is already like, I can't even promise that to myself after a decade of therapy.
Yeah, it's a huge one.
And then 2, our self-esteem will increase as we give give ourselves approval on a daily basis. I also find this one to be a really heavy promise, but I think that's because we tend to equate our self-esteem and our ego. And this is not promising that our ego will get a boost. It's promising that truly our self, our soul, who we are, the witness, gets not
yes. That makes a lot of sense. Self-esteem in the realms of knowing our position in the world as being a spirit soul.
Yeah. 3, fear of authority figures and the need to people please will leave us.
Oh my God, this has been a bloody battle. I have beheaded bodies all over the battlefield. I've got like blood and swords and pools of hearts and intestines. Like that has not been an easy one, and it's still not an easy one for me.
Well, you
I'm
want to
still
know
here.
who else had heads rolling and a garland of intestines?
Oh, that's right, Miss Shringy.
Yeah.
Shringy.
And talk about fighting some bad authority there. So he's got your back.
That's right. Prahlad.
You know, I really love the fact that there is a form of Krishna who came for one devotee and
but
raised hell.
Oh yeah.
And for as fierce as he was just as compassionate. I should say. He's just as compassionate.
I mean, even Hiranyakashipu. I mean, horrible, evil, horrible man who would do anything to hurt his own son that way, And Krishna comes and helps Prahlad. Prahlad was such a sweet, kind, just the most sincere, humble little boy in the whole wide world. I love Prahlad, and it's so nice that Krishna came, swooped down and defended him,
What's so beautiful about the ACA program is Hiranyakashipu is like the most critical parent in all of existence.
Oh yeah, bring that in. Yes, yes.
Prahlad Maharaj is the inner child who's just sitting humbly and waiting and waiting and waiting and never losing faith. And I really do think that personally, my inner child has been waiting for the stage really patiently and saying, okay, when you're ready, I'm here. But I don't like this situation, so I'm just going to go play over in this corner when you're ready. And then the loving parent can come in like Hiranyakashipu and just fix the situation. And that's what God does, is he brings in that acceptance and that love and that centering. And
you don't mean the loving parent of Hiranyakashipu. You meant the loving, you mean the critical parent is Hiranyakashipu.
Yes. Hiranyakashipu comes in as the critical parent. What I meant to say was that Krishna comes in as a loving parent. Yes. Comes in and he tames everything. He says, you have been given your chance to run wild. Now you know why you need me, because he does not show up before there is an issue. He lets you run it until you can't run it anymore.
Exactly. Until you hit your bottom.
Yeah.
Until you hit your bottom. You know what? I love how you brought that into this. I love it. It's so relatable. And that's within us.
Yeah.
It's within us and without us, because we are part and partials. Doesn't mean we're God, but we have part and partial of God. We're part and partial of a damn rock.
Yeah.
We're part and partial. And I'm not talking spiritually. I'm talking actual minerals, like actual,
Carbon.
the components of a human being are the same as in a rock. I mean, we're related to everything.
And I'm not saying that scientifically we should physically make this happen, but if we are all carbon-based beings, that means under pressure we can all become diamonds.
There you go. I love that one.
There is no difference. Like, all of these metaphors work across science, work across spirituality. There is no difference. It is all enmeshed because we are the marginal energy. We are 1 foot in the spiritual and 1 foot in the material.
Wow.
So, however
Yeah.
we choose to heal, whatever works for us is there and present and ready to go. That's amazing. We've been set up for success. We've been set up for failure if we take our own program, run it by ourselves, and do something on a whim. But when we take what works, because 12-step program, it is amazing how much it mirrors the Gita. It's amazing how much it mirrors the wisdom literatures. Which step were we going through the other day that was talking about like the parallel between Arjun's surrender and then this particular step? Do you remember? Removing the defects.
Oh, the sixth and seventh step. So the sixth step is seventh step is humbly asking God to remove the shortcomings. And the sixth step is becoming ready to have God remove them. So we're talking about the seventh step. That's what it was.
But something that I loved so much was the realizations that even in the Gita, Arjuna is working a 12-step with God. His sponsor is Krishna. And he's asking him, like, I have weakness of heart and it's getting in the way of me performing my duty. Please help. And then we get to see firsthand how Krishna real time works the steps with someone, how God responds.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. It's so true, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we don't get it as directly. We don't.
But that's why we don't. But this is why we have the 12 steps. That's the direct part of it. It's so tangible. It's so hands-on.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it, is like we have proof, at least through the Gita, that he works them directly with you. And yeah, it might show up a bit different. I definitely feel Krishna working with me through you. And then we also feel him working with us through the program. And then there's things that happen in our daily lives that take care of us.
Absolutely.
So yeah. I think this next one jumps off that really nicely.
The last one? The 14?
No, the ACA promises.
The promises. Yeah, sorry. We've moved forward. We've gone off in so many different directions. Okay, go ahead.
It'll be chaos and absolute like fabulousness watching this back or reading this book, listening to this back. That's the word. So number 4 is our ability to share intimacy will grow inside us. And I think this goes back really lovingly to our connection with God and our ability to be understood. Because this, yes, we expect our parents to understand us. And I've had issues where, growing up, I never really got to have my own identity. I was the younger sibling. I got all the hand-me-downs, which was great. And I'm not complaining about that because we did not need to see a world that was full of my style choices as a kid. Yeah. Instead, I could work with what my sister had, and she was very fashionable. But then it went into other things like, I became a cheerleader. No. Absolutely. I hated it. I hated every second of it. And I had to do 2 years on 2 teams where I was doing that sport 6 days a week.
That's a lot of work.
You're right. And I mean, it was amazing.
That you don't enjoy.
I was so healthy. There were aspects of it that I liked, but I it wasn't within my identity. It was so out of alignment for who I wanted to be.
Mm.
So then I looked at my parents who put me in this situation and never asked me about it. They literally just put it in there and said, Madison likes this, so Kennedy will like this. Madison's my sister, not to out her, but like amazing human being. But at the time, we did not get along. And I had this thing going through my head where is, how can you say you love me if you don't understand me?
Mm.
You love an idea of me, but you don't love who I am. You don't actually know me. And the one being who has known us, not just throughout this lifetime, but throughout every single lifetime, who will continue to know us, who has known us since I want to say inception of our existence, but we are part of the eternal. Like, the fire's been raging, the spark is still part of the fire.
Mm.
And, beyond the concept of a beginning, we have been with God. And that is the greatest form of intimacy, is that process of being recognized and to understand that we are loved even for every, excuse my language, for all of the bullshit that we put others through, that we put ourselves through, that we've been put through. That has been a really healing thought for me of if my question that my inner child keeps asking is, how can you love me if you don't know me? Then how can I deny that God loves me when he knows me best?
That's a very, very, it's a very big statement. Also, as far as I don't know about you, but there are people who I love just because my instincts say I just love them. And I don't know anything about them. I just love them.
Well, love is meant to be costless.
Yeah. And
costless.
And then, of course, we're so conditioned and all of these things happen in life. Then we figure out that they're not the person who we thought they were. And then the love starts to get deducted and demoted, it's such a shame. But I really think it's interesting, our ability to share intimacy. And, and what is intimacy? What is intimacy? What does that mean to everybody, right? The intimacy for me, it's an intimacy with myself. I don't have an intimacy with myself. I don't have that.
I think too, in people pleasing, we're often willing to sacrifice our intimacy with ourselves, or even ever going to find our intimacy with ourselves in favor of trying to cultivate quote unquote intimacy with other people.
Yeah. I think it also stems from, I think it was 13 on the or 14 on the, it stems from that. It stems from, what was 13?
13 was alcoholism is a family disease and we become para-alcoholics. No. Okay, 14 is the para-alcoholics are reactors rather than actors.
No, it was then the 12 or 11.
One, we are dependent personalities who are terrified of abandonment.
Could be. What's 11?
We judge ourselves harshly.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. And I don't think, I think the only time that I ever experience intimacy is when I'm having conversations with God. I think that's the only intimate time that I ever have. I mean, I really, after menopause, and I'm going to get real up close and personal, I don't, I have no, I'm completely asexual. There's nothing there. It's done. There's nothing. Yeah. There's just nothing there. And, I always thought that intimacy was that. Intimacy has to do with being sexually intimate with somebody. I didn't understand what intimacy was. I never understood that. What do you mean intimate? I never had, I've had personal relationships and I've had relationships that were deep, but I don't know, intimacy, that's something very, very alien. It was always very alien, but I do get glimpses of it when I'm having conversations with God, when I'm in the woods walking and smelling the earth and the trees and the feeling the breeze and being just in that moment. That's intimacy with the inherent knowledge of God within myself. That's really the only time I experience intimacy. And it's actually the only intimacy that I crave, you know?
I've got a question for you, Jiva.
Sure.
Have you ever sat alone in a room or in a space or in the forest, closed your eyes, take a couple deep breaths, and just allowed yourself to feel held by God?
I have to think about that. Yeah, I think so. Not with that specific question, like, or with that specific aim to say, okay, God, hold me. I don't think I've ever had that, but I felt it.
Mm. I don't think we have to ask him to hold us. I think he just does. And
I
I'm
think
like
that's,
that cat that's being held above water sometimes.
oh my God, I always say that too. I say the exact same thing, but I say it on a branch that's holding on, like, ah, like the water is roaring underneath him. And then yes, anyway, go ahead.
Just like Krishna's like, okay, you need a bath. We need to cleanse you a little bit. And I'm just sitting there going hissing and scratching. And he's like,
And
I love
your
you so.
nails
You're
are out.
adorable. Go get washed. Like, I'm held
Dunk.
by God, but I'm kicking and screaming.
Yeah, exactly. I always say, what I always love to say is anything that I've ever held on to has freaking claw marks on it.
That's perfect. I mean, yeah. And if we want to move to number 5, I think that's a great segue.
Okay, great.
But it's as we face our abandonment issues, we will be attracted by strengths and become more tolerant of weaknesses. There will
Oh
be less
my
claw
God.
marks on the things we hold on to.
Yeah. Hence, as we face our abandonment issues, we will be attracted by strengths and become more tolerant of weaknesses. Now,
Yeah.
that's the funny thing. Let's turn that inward. Let's look in the mirror and say that. Look in the mirror and say that and address that to yourself.
I mean, and also too, we're talking about our own strengths and weaknesses.
That's what I mean. Address it to yourself.
But I have so much experience chasing after people in codependency
Yeah,
because I
for their
recognize
strengths.
like an opulence in them. I recognize, oh, I want to hang out with the smart people. I want to hang out with the rich people. I want to hang out with the beautiful people. I want to hang out with the strong people. You don't find good company chasing equality. You find good company by utilizing what you have for Krishna. His Grace Chaitanya Charandas, the spiritual scientist, once told me, I was like 4 months into Krishna consciousness. I got a book from him when he visited ISV, and he wrote in my book, what we have is a gift from Krishna. What we do with what we have is our gift to Krishna.
Oh, I like that. I
Right?
love Chaitanya. He's such a sweetheart.
He's amazing. He blows my mind every time he lectures, and I love how intellectual he is. But on that thought of, what we do with what we have is a gift to him. If you have people who only sit and hoard what they have and think I'm so gifted, that's not as good of company as the people who say, look at what I can give. Oh, this moment, like I can help you here. Because not every given moment do I need to give of myself, because I need to give to myself and recharge. And that has been really difficult for me, because my instinct is, I have this, let me give it. I have this. So clearly Krishna must have given this to me, so I can give this to you. And, we can't give money that we don't have to give. I need to eat. We can't give energy that we don't have to give, because I need to take care of myself and work and make money.
Right.
It's unfortunate that we don't live in a world where I can just run around town and give money freely to everyone. But, time and energy are all we really have in this world to give. Whatever comes through that comes through that. But that goes back to number 3 is, that need to people please. What am I giving out of the goodness of my heart versus what am I giving in ignorance, or what am I giving in passion?
But you see, that's also the thing that's directly correlated with as we face our abandonment issues. When we stop people pleasing, we are facing our abandonment issues, because we do people please because we don't want to be abandoned.
Yeah, it took me to like right now to put that together.
And the thing is, like, yes, I'm attracted by strengths. And I think for me, the big, the big, the biggest grapple is being tolerant of my own weaknesses. I am not tolerant of my own weaknesses because it brought me so much struggle, strife, and so much pain in my life. My own weaknesses were, I wasn't in a healthy environment at home. And I wasn't in a healthy environment at school. I wasn't in a healthy environment with my friends. I wasn't in a healthy environment in New York City, running around at 11 and 12 years old at 2 a.m, running the streets. All of these things, weaknesses were not tolerated. I was not allowed to show my weaknesses. If I showed my weaknesses in school, I was called stupid. If I showed my weaknesses at home, I was punished. If I showed my weaknesses out running on the streets, I would be suckered and my sneakers would be taken or whatever, something would have happened. And in turn, I am an adult who does not tolerate my own weaknesses. And I find that really sad. I find that even today, very prevalent. No matter how long I've worked a program, I'm still very intolerant of my own weaknesses. And I don't like that, actually. And it's very, very apparent to me reading this and how it's all correlated. You know what I think, Kennedy? You know what I think we're going to be doing? And I'm going to volunteer you for this as your sponsor. I'm going to command you.
Lay it on me. What are we doing?
I'm commanding you to do like 4 or 5 shows with me. We're going to go through this stuff and we're just going to talk and we're going to just do this podcast together for a little bit.
I would love that. Oh my goodness.
Okay, cool.
For those who don't know, because no one listening to this podcast would have this information, I joined this 12-step program because I listened to the podcast for about 6 months and finally decided like I connected with it too much to not do something about it. So now I get to give back to the podcast. That's nice.
That's great. I forgot about that. I can't believe that somebody just listened to my podcast and got inspired. It's so nice.
I'm the first of many.
Well, where it says fear of our ability, as we face abandonment issues, we will be attracted by strengths. So for me to be attracted by I guess that would be a strength, wouldn't it? To be able to inspire somebody. Is that a strength? I mean, would that count?
Well, when you're inspired by somebody, that in spiritus, it has something to do with the spirit. And that means it's touching you on the deepest level. And I am a firm believer that the greatest strength comes from vulnerability in the right moments. And if you're tolerant of your weaknesses, that's strength. And oftentimes as well, when we are trying to become stronger, we feel weak. And so, yeah, I would absolutely say it's a strength that in your vulnerability, you have afforded people the opportunity to become stronger.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's nice that even if my weaknesses and my vulnerability, or not my weaknesses, because I think vulnerability is a strength. Mm-hmm. I think in my vulnerability to expose my weaknesses, that inspires somebody, then it's worth having those weaknesses. Because I've been inspired by other people's. I've been inspired by other people's honesty, inspired by their, everything that I say is really just learned from either, from all of the years of the 12 steps that I've worked and all the people that I've heard and all the wonderful, amazing, enlightened people that I know on the road. And then, the Krishna consciousness that comes along and the Christians, the great Christians that I know, all of these people who believe in a universal God, who speak that innate truth, that inherent truth of true love of God, no matter where they come from, that's where I'm inspired. And I want to be able to, it's really funny, Kennedy, because I just did my walk this morning and I announced on the shorty, because I didn't do one on Monday and I didn't do one on Thursday. Or we did one, but we erased it.
We triangulated my position a little too well.
So I announced that I'm going to be putting a little bit of a pause because I'm not that inspired to be speaking at the moment. So I'm going to be pausing it for a couple of weeks. That's what I said. But just sitting here with you speaking, now I know it's missing. I need someone to talk to, not just myself in the woods, and not just someone like you, because I think you're very inspiring as well. And I think we vibe very well together. So I'm very happy that you said yes.
Well, wonderful. I'm really looking forward to it. It genuinely meeting you, coming into this program, for me in 2022 when I got my Gita, and then that was late 2020 coming into 2023, like that was the blessing of that year. Coming into the ACA program, meeting you, that is the blessing of this year for me, and I need to run with that as far as I can. And it's funny because there's some races you run that tire you out, and there are some races you run where you just feel more and more free as you run them. And this is definitely the latter.
Well, that's great. Let's okay, so you know what we're going to do? So I take that back, everybody. We will be doing episodes. But it won't be me alone. It'll be Kennedy and I. And let's see how long we'll have a run at this. I mean, indefinitely. Let's see what's going on.
But also if you're in Los Angeles next week, come say hi, because there's Ratha Yatra and I'll be there. So
oh, that's right. Yeah, everybody, but no one's going to see you. No one's going to, because we do this all audio. No one's going to know what you look like.
I don't know, because I've had some people straight up just come up to me being like, "You're Kennedy." And I'm like, how do you know?
How do you know? Oh, that's so funny. All right. Well, Kennedy, if you see or you think that you hear the voice is unmistakable. Oh, if you hear someone laughing like that, or if you see someone like that, it's Kennedy, and go up to her and say, like, "What's going on, Kennedy?"
You have to say it like that, though.
Yeah, exactly. What's going on, Kennedy?
And I can't see it, but I think there was a shimmy in there, so I will require a shimmy.
Yeah, I have to put actually, you know what? I think it's the position of my office in the building, like in my house. I think where my office is, I think the internet is really poor here. So I always have to do these with my video off, which really stinks, because I would, it takes half of the intimacy away.
We could try to IT that, but probably not on the podcast.
Yeah, no, what I'm probably going to try to do now is I'm going to go into the other room and do that from the other room and see what happens there. Maybe it'll get better, because I know that my partner, he says, like, I don't have internet trouble, and he's just in the other room and he works there all day. So it has to be this room. It just has to be. I can't explain it any other way. Okay. What do you say? I think I would like to let's just read them till the no comments, because we can do this forever.
Yeah.
And let's read it till the end. And we still didn't talk about the first and second step, but we're going to do that when we meet again.
Yeah. It'd be really fun. And I mean, it's funny because it all cultivates in that 12th step of sharing with other people.
Giving it back. That's it.
Yeah. So it'll just be perfect. I'll get to work all the steps and help people if they want to listen, and that sounds lovely. So we are on number 6 on the ACA promises. We will enjoy feeling stable, peaceful, and financially secure. Looking forward to that. 7, we will learn how to play and have fun in our lives. Also looking forward to that. 8, we will choose to love people who can love and be responsible for themselves. Started that. It's really nice, and I can't believe it gets better.
It does. It really does.
9, healthy boundaries and limits will become easier for us to set. Absolutely. 10, fears of failure and success will leave us as we intuitively make healthier choices.
Hello.
Looking forward to that one too. 11, with help from our ACA support group, we will slowly realize our dysfunctional behaviors. Yes, you cannot do this alone. 12, gradually, with our higher powers' help, Hare Krishna, we will learn to expect the best and get it. I don't know how to set an expectation, so this will be great.
Well, one thing I could say is expect it to get different.
Good. I'm looking forward to moving out of my parents' house.
Oh, Kennedy, thank you so much. This was really fun. I really enjoyed it. And not only fun, it was just really deep. So thank you for your contribution. Thank you for just expressing and being honest and sharing what you have.
Thanks for creating the space to do it.
Fantastic. So we'll see you guys next, well, whatever day it is. I don't know what time. I don't know what day what day is it today? What is the day today?
Today's
Tuesday. Okay, so this will be released on Thursday. So we'll see you guys on Monday. If I don't have a shorty, we'll do another thing with Kennedy, but the latest next Thursday will be Kennedy again. So, all right. Haribol, everyone. Thanks, Kennedy.
Thank you. Haribol, everyone.
This concludes another episode. Thanks for listening. In order for me to serve this community to the best of my ability, I welcome feedback. Please write your feedback at bhaktirecoverypodcast@gmail.com. That's bhaktirecoverypodcast@gmail.com. Also, please don't forget to follow and give us a 5-star rating. Share this with family and friends. If you'd like to join our Bhakti Recovery community or just find out what we're all about, please visit our website at www.bhaktirecoverygroup.com. That's www.bhaktirecoverygroup.com. There are no dues or fees, and we meet daily. If you or someone you know is struggling with addictions and/or associated behaviors, you will find links in our show notes to various 12-step programs. Nobody seeking recovery need ever be alone again.
सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज.
The miseries of material existence and the most hopeless conditions of life is the best possible opportunity to turn to God.